I traditionally don't like underwear. I know that's like the uncommon opinion. Everybody seems to like underwear. Not my gig. Not my gig. 25 Mickey bucks indeed. My life is made. All right, we're doing the damn thing.
Is this taboo?
Bum, bum. Happy day to you, you beautiful fucking human beings. Oh, sorry, I did not throw in a disclaimer. Elliot, come say hi. Oh, you have a delivery. I can't come get it right now. But I'm going to guess that it's the rest of your Mickey Mouse tilt. Guys, I am getting rich today. Oh. How come you're giving all your money away? Delivery. I can't come there. So, guys, I should have brought my rotary phone out because I am live on Instagram right now. Okay, come here. Come here.
Wait.
What?
Something is in here.
What is it? Ring. Ooh. Ooh, we got rocks and what's that? Chalk and number tiles. And here's your cash money.
You can keep it.
Oh.
I need this one.
You buy things with this, though. Go to the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and buy something nice for yourself. Here you go.
No, you can have it.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep it. It's my allowance. Do I get it for taking care of you? Oh, good. Great. So I recorded this very rotary phone. That is the lovely sound that you get. I'm just a Hot Mess Express. Come join the shit show. We're going for a ride. Your very own toy Fisher-Price rotary phone circa 1995. You're welcome. Anyways, you guys, this is an 18 and up podcast. We do curse like sailors.
I have that back.
Yeah. What? This?
The money.
All right. We're rolling with it. This is an 18 and up podcast. I curse like a sailor. I talk all things controversial, difficult, taboo, wildly inappropriate. Today, kind of spooky, which I love. We're going to dive into the history of All Hallows Eve. If you're watching this, it may appear that I am looking at a computer screen because I did a ton of research for this episode. It might appear that way because I am. So, again, you're not here. And for those listening, you're welcome. You should follow our Instagram. I'm Hot Mess Express. Leaving the station, like I said. Yeah. Don't worry, this is decaf. But first of all, talking Halloween, I told my friend some spooky stories last weekend. And he tried to logic the fuck out of everything. Most logical guy in the world. But to me, like, some more spooky shit has been happening in this house. Just like random drawers are opening. More drawers than the one I talked about last week. And I couldn't find my keys, like, this morning. I'm dead ass serious. You're probably going to be like, oh, you're the most forgetful person in the world. Almost. But I found them on my deck, like on my post, just outside on my deck. I hadn't been out on my deck at all last night. And the only reason I went out there this morning was because I was freaking out and I'm trying to appease my anxiety attack by also multitasking. And I go out there to feed my cat and they're sitting right there. And I swear to you, I am forgetful. So I put my keys in the same spot every time on purpose because there's nothing more frustrating than losing your crap all the time. So I put them in a bowl right next to my door, my front door, every day. So logic the fuck out of that, you guys. Tell me what you think. I don't know. I don't know if like whatever is residing in this house with me is kind of growing restless, or it's just that time of year and they're making themselves more known. But it's just odd. And I wish Elliot could actually come down here and freaking actually talk to you guys. But that could be a mess. So just to tell you about it, he's got this new imaginary friend, and he's 4, but he won't tell me about her. He talks about her all the time, like to her, like in his room or while he's in the bath, or, you know, he's an only child, so he plays with himself alone a lot. And I've just found that he's been having like these long, lengthy, in-depth conversations with himself. And every time I like pop my head in, I'm like, hey, my guy, what you talking about? Nothing. Oh, well, nothing sounds interesting. Can I join? No, me and her are talking. What's her name? You know, and then like this is like after a while of already going on, but at this point I'm just kind of like, oh, you know, tell me a little more about her, and he won't budge. So I don't know. I don't know if I need to sage my house, open all the windows, and sage this place. But I almost don't want to do that because this place has been so nice to live. Like, I don't want to piss anything off. Also, like, shouldn't probably be acknowledging it as much as I have been. But this is where we record. And so if I get murdered in my sleep from a ghost, plastic table. Yeah, you guys come searching for me. But anyways, Halloween is now wrapped up in our own spin-off of a 2,000-year-old holiday. And you heard me, 2,000 years. The holiday, I cannot talk. Halloween is old. And it's just kind of interesting how we've interpreted it and made our own traditions out of it, in the sense that everything is about candy and costumes. And can we talk about that for a second? Why is everything so goddamn expensive now? Okay, like all holidays, Halloween, you got costumes, which are not freaking cheap anymore. I got my costume in the mail and I hated it. I was really disappointed. I like express shipped it and everything because I have this rave I'm going to on the 30th, that Friday. And I get it, and it's like all frumpy and shit. And I have this irrational fear of clowns. At a young age, like 5, my parents took me to Disneyland, and we went through the Haunted Mansion and everything, and I loved the shit out of it, right? It's so fun. We go home back to Minnesota, and they have a massive state fair every summer, and they had a haunted house there. And I begged my dad, please, can we go? Please, please. No. Like, this isn't like Disneyland's Haunted Mansion. And finally, you know, he's like, all right, you're going to see. And that was always my parents. They're like, all right, Alicia, you can see. They would always let me choose the hard door if I threw enough of a tantrum. No, I'm just kidding. But we go through this, and yeah, killer clowns, man. I held on to that to this day. But I thought this would be the year to face my fear, and why not? Dress up as a slutty, sexy, skanky clown, thinking that might be possible, and maybe that'll help alleviate said irrational fear. But that was naive of me. 1, how do you make a clown sexy? And 2, why did I think that would help said fear? You know, my stepfather used to fuck with me. My sister used to fuck with me. She got punched in the face at a Walmart, actually, because she came up behind me in an it mask. And I was just like, no. Like, I'm tangenting hard. But there was even this one time when I was living with my mom, And after my divorce and stuff, and I wake up on the couch and she had turned it on and she drove to the grocery store with the remote so I couldn't turn it off. And I ended up leaving because I was like, this is fucked up. That's fucked up, Rachel. If you're watching this or if you see this, that's rude. You always set me up with movies. Like the worst fucking movies to watch alone, too. Like she'll start it and be like, let's watch something really good. And then like 10 minutes into it, I'm like, I should have known. What am I getting out of this? Nothing. Thank you. But I mean, yeah, everything is so expensive. I got my costume, spent, I don't know, probably like $65. Yeah, after taxes and shipping and everything. And yeah, Hot Mess Express continues. I can't wear it. Like it's ugly as fuck. I thought in my brain, I was like, I could make a sexy clown outfit look good, right? Right? I mean, in the catalog, it was a skimpy little thing. And then I get it, and it's like down to my knees. Like it's like styled the same as like my skirts that I wore in private Catholic school in elementary. Yeah. So no, thank you. I mean, I honestly was like, maybe I could cut it up. Maybe I could return it. But then it's like, then I want another, like, it just, I don't have the patience for that. And with my luck, because I have none, everything of mine gets lost in the freaking mail. I hate buying things online. I hate it. I hate that you have to check your sizes because like I'm disproportionate. Like I have a long torso and like short arms. Like, so I hate having to check your measurements because who the fuck knows? And especially if you're ordering from some fucking random ass third company through Facebook or Snapchat, God forbid, you're probably getting it from like Transylvania or like the backwoods of fucking London. Because God knows I've done that. I was asked to be I probably shouldn't talk about that. But I ordered things from over in the UK a month, 5 weeks ago, and I've yet to receive my shit. And yeah, they're impossible to like get a hold of. Like their customer service email doesn't work. Yeah. Fishy. But yeah. Sexy clown. Not in the works for me. That will probably be the last time I ever order any outfit off of the goddamn internet. Thanks, Amazon, for failing me every time. That's why I don't have a Prime membership. You bitch. Anyway, you cool cats and humans alike. I think the hype around it all is so crazy. Halloween has been my favorite holiday as long as I can remember. And now I build it up like with such expectations. It's always kind of a downer because they're never met. But I also can't afford it anymore. Candy is expensive as fuck. Like it's, yeah. And I used to wonder as a kid, because there were several houses in my neighborhood, like why they didn't participate in Halloween tradition. Like they were always the ones that had all their lights off and were probably like warding off Satan in their basement or whatever. But now that I think about it, they're probably the smartest ones on the block because they save all the money. No, all joking aside, there is actually a lot of Christian people who don't participate in Halloween tradition just because it originated from a pagan holiday, which is definitely most likely the reason I love it so much and always have. But anyway, between Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas in a few months, your girl's just going to be a broke bitch. And I'm loving every second of it. Elliot wants to dress up as Donald Duck. I thought that was a phase because he went through like 15 different costume ideas, but he's been stuck on Donald Duck for the last 4 days. So if you watch that live that brief live last night, you might have heard him because he's like, I'm going to be Donald Duck, like DuckTales. Oh, woo. He can never just say DuckTales. It's always DuckTales. Oh, woo. So that's what we're doing. Tangents. Let's jump into it. Halloween's always been my favorite holiday because I love the feeling of literal change in the air. The change of the leaves, a potential new season of me or whatever. It beckons transformation in all aspects of life. It may be getting colder, but to me, fall is more than that. It's an exciting time. It's a celebration of all things mysterious, spine-chilling, unearthly, spooky, saints, depending on who you ask, and all the weird things. And that, too, is probably why I've always loved it so much, because you guys know I'm pretty freaking weird. In the U.S., Halloween is dominated by common traditions like dressing up, trick-or-treating, pumpkin carving like we've talked about. But we've also put our own spin on this 2,000-year-old holiday. It originates back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. And you guys fucking know I had to look up the pronunciation of that and all my research, because it's spelled Samhain. And it doesn't matter how many times I've read through this fucking prompter that I wrote, I can never pronounce it. So I literally have the pronunciation Samhain next to every single word in here. Anyway, Samhain, the earliest known root of Halloween. I just laugh because I'm ridiculous. 2,000 years ago, the Celts were an assortment of tribes in small kingdoms scattered across Western and Central Europe, mostly like in Ireland and the United Kingdom and Northern France as of now. But they all had different languages and cultures. It is argued, in a lot of the things that I read, that they may have been celebrated slightly different between tribes and villages, but ultimately the Celtic tradition rings strong to its core. It marked a very big and pivotal time of year when seasons changed. The harvest was ending, but more importantly, folks believed the boundary between this world and the next became extremely thin. Duh, you guys. That is why my little ghosty friend is probably fucking playing tricks on me. Duh. They believed this was the one time of year when the spiritual world became visible to humans. This was a time when they believed gods and spirits could walk among them, so they dressed up to ward the spirits off. People believed their gods were tricksters and enjoyed playing tricks on them, so therefore derived the tradition of pranking. But not only was it a time for their gods and spirits to play tricks on them, it was a big time to play jokes on each other. The harvest was over. They had the time to fucks with each other, if you know what I'm saying. The Celts, like most pagan tribes, were extremely spiritual people. They believed that all physical things in this realm were directly related to the mollifying of their gods or appeasing those spirits that awaited them in the afterlife. The festival of Samhain was an extremely religious and moving experience for the people. It was a pivotal time of year. The Gaelic tribes truly believed that this festival would dictate whether or not the gods would grant them a flourishing harvest in the following season. So a lot was on the line. A lot of rituals took place, dancing, wearing of masks to ward off evil spirits to beckon the good, Everything literally was a balance between light and darkness to them, representing like the positive, the lucky, the fruitful values, while the latter represented negative and threatening, destructive values, evil spirits. This belief that the veil between worlds thins is shared by some other cultures. A similar idea is actually mentioned around the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, which also typically occurs in October. But they believe in spending the day and praying, speaking to their dead. There are also many celebrations in Mexico, which is widely known. They celebrate the Day of the Dead, or Dia de los Muertos. I fucking failed Spanish, so roast me later. And you know, it actually should be called Days of the Dead because it takes place October 31st through November 2nd. November 1st is Dia de los Inocentes, which honors all their children that have died. November 2nd is Dia de los Muertos, which is widely known, where they honor the rest of their ancestors who have passed. But originally, it was an Aztec celebration, and it lasted a month, which I was, I didn't know that. But when Spanish conquistadors came over to Mexico in the 16th century, they merged the festival with Catholics' All Saints' Day, which you'll get to hear all about. But it's interesting because it's a mix of both Aztec rituals of like your skulls, altars, and food to the dead, mixed with Catholic masses and prayers. In Spain, October 31st is known as Dia de las Brujas, the Day of the Witches, which I loved and I had to mention. And then they also celebrate Dia de los Muertos on the same day as Mexico, November 2nd. But it's All Souls Day as well, which is Difuntos, so Dia de los Difuntos. My ability to pronunciate is very sad, and I do apologize. But as I said, November 1st is made a national holiday in Spain, and it's All Saints Day, aka the Catholic Church's spin on All Hallows Eve, etc. But the common belief that the veil between worlds thins, the common belief that the veil thins, why was that so hard? Is where Halloween gains its haunted connotations. You see a common trend here between belief systems? It's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, the Celts believed in gathering all their harvests by Samhain. So, quote, that it would not be damaged by the evil or mischievous spirits who could return on the evening of the dark half of the year, end quote. That is by Frederick Suppe, a historian specializing in Celtic and medieval history. Guy works at Ball State University in Indiana. This was quoted in an article on history.com. He also was quoted saying token offerings of the harvested food would be offered to the spirits to placate them, end quote. So, again, like we're all about appeasing our gods. Like we don't want the wrath of any of them coming to us and taking away our harvest, right? Could you imagine living like in year fucking one? I mean, what? What did they wipe their asses with? Leaves? What did women do on the... I won't go there. Anyway, two holidays divided the Celts here. It was Beltane, which is April 30th through May 1st. You're welcome. May Day, my birthday, best day. It's important for a reason. Or at least this is on our calendar now. Calendars back then and now have changed a lot. But it was like the early spring into the growing months of summer. It concluded with the harvest, Samhain, which is, as you know, occurs on October 31st and November 1st, is the autumn harvest, continued through, quote, the darkness of winter, end quote. The word Halloween comes from All Hallows Eve, or hallowed evening. Halloween falls on October 31st because of the ancient Gaelic festival. Typical Celtic festivities included bonfires, dancing, rituals, and feasts. Many people, mostly in Europe, still actually to this day hold a variation of what they call a dumb supper. Literally a dumb supper. And it's where everyone who joins or gathers sits at a table and eats in silence the whole time. A whole Thanksgiving feast. That would actually probably be nice, like especially if you don't get along with all of your family members, imagine how peaceful Thanksgiving would be if we all had a dumb supper. Or if you have shitty, in-laws, parents too. Yeah. Everybody just go have a dumb supper while you're at it. It actually wasn't until some of nearly 1,200 years later that the Catholic Church adapted and Christianized All Hallows Eve. They're scared of anything that's different from them. We know this. This happened after the Romans brutally conquered the ancient Celtic realms, and the pagan traditions were adopted into a holiday honoring, you guessed it, their epic Catholic saints. And seriously, I've talked about religion many times on the show. No disrespect to the church whatsoever. A lot of people really need religion. And if you have a belief system that works for you, kumbaya, more power to you. That's fucking awesome. Me, I don't believe in the institution of religion. So I can joke. And you know what? I've been to enough Catholic masses. I can joke. Okay? It's funny. Fuck you. It's funny. Just seems like the church and the Roman Empire specifically need their hands in everybody's cookie jars, we could do it better. And two, I am both Italian and Irish. So, remember worst of both drinking worlds, remember what a joke is? I'm just kidding, you guys. I've been on one today. I need to stop. Sorry. Saints were called Hallows back in the day. The word is literally, quote, to make hollow or to make holy or sacred, to sanctify or consecrate, end quote. The adjective form hallowed, as used in the Lord's Prayer. I shouldn't say it like that. I'm sorry. I need to be respectful. The Lord's Prayer means holy, and the noun form hallow, as used in hallowtide, is a synonym of the word saint. The word to hallow itself in English is now archaic and doesn't really appear other than in quoted texts in the New Testament. Wouldn't it be kind of funny to still call saints hallows? We say people are saints all the time, oh, I have a hollow aunt. People will probably look at you like, what? No, but anyway, that's why they were called hallows back then. The name was eventually shortened to Halloween, as we, air quotes, know and love today. So expensive. In approximately the 800s. Remember, guys, when I said year one, we're not fucking kidding. I mean, really not that far, but 800s? Come on. Remember, we're going way back. The church designated November 1st is that awesome All Saints Day that I mentioned. Although both October 31st and November 1st were intended to pay homage to the saints, when the church Christianized the holiday, the 2 days diverged into 2 separate holidays despite the Catholic Church's interjection. But Pope Gregory the First, aka Saint Gregory the Great, we'll call him Greg, he was like, no, we still need to make this ours. We can do it better. I'm definitely sure he said something along those lines. This is your guy who decided instead of trying to do away with the religious customs of non-Christian peoples, they just simply convert them to a Christian religious purpose. This was also the guy, Pope Greg, that was in power while the Roman Empire was taking over and conquering said Celtic tribes and villages, kingdoms, you know what I mean? And I guarantee the emperor wasn't opposed, but the Pope truly believed that everyone should be converted to Christian. So there were mass conversions of Christianity when the Roman Empire took over. Imagine having the religious freedom to pray to your gods, to ritualize the experience. This is a foundation and a tradition that's been built for these people over thousands of years. And so it was truly an invasion when the empire came in and, took over is the best way to phrase it. And this is a side note, but I always found it interesting because the English translation of Viking literally means savage. And it's just like so fucked up. Like we always put the blame on everyone else. It's like they're savages, but we're really all just out here slaughtering each other. History's so fucked, guys. But I'm weird. Maybe that's why it's always been my favorite subject in school. My favorite has always been history too. Anyways, side note, done. But suddenly the Celts' dark spirit supernatural festival, as they put it, was converted and given a Christian context. Like I said, we're all shocked. The old beliefs with Samhain festival, it never died out entirely. And that's what I meant before my tangent by the two holidays diverging. It was the powerful contrast between the dead and the living that intrigued people and still intrigues people to this day. I think it was the symbolism of the said traveling dead. It was too strong, and people craved an abstract to the new, boring Catholic feast honoring their epic saints. Cheers. Maybe it was because it was lame. I'm done. My grandpa Enrico would be so disappointed in me. I'm sorry. Anyway, October 31st quickly became the time when Christians could turn the supernatural rituals of Samhain. Fuck! I gotta do this, guys. I gotta go back. I missed words. Samhain. God damn. Samhain. Why is that so hard? You guys have words that you just can't say? Like Elliot can't say bubbles properly. He says bubbles. So now, or my friend Bethany got Elliot, and her niece and nephew were known for saying toesins for toes and fingins for their fingers. And now toes aren't toes, they're toesins, and fingins are fingins. Anyways, tangents. Lots of crickets tonight because I told you guys I was on one. And you know what? Who fucking cares? Because we're solo casting. So I'm gonna tangent some more. Bear with me, guys. I'm gonna tangent again. The Christian church took over the Celtic tribes, took over their holidays, regurgitated the idea and shit it out into something saintly, completely different. I mean, saints have their miracle moments too. I guess they're supernatural too. But people still wanted the original. So it's like, maybe that's why like bad shit happens when we started fucking with shit that we knew nothing about. I hope that made sense because it makes sense in my brain. It reminds me of the time, like I told you that story in the last episode of how I played with a Ouija board and it fucked with me for a long time after. It's just interesting. I think they're opening a gateway. I mean, obviously the pagan tribes, that was their religion. That was their purpose in life, to serve their gods, to serve said spirits. They knew what the fuck they were dealing with. And then we come in and we're like, ooh, let's make a game out of it. It's spooky. People probably got fucked up. One of the many rituals adopted from the Celts was actually pumpkin carving, which also had a lot to do with religious significance. Quotes, the jack-o'-lantern custom consists of placing fire, which imitates the good magic of the sun, inside a hollowed vegetable representing the harvest, end quote. Supe, that professor we were talking about, works at Indiana University or whatever, he was recorded saying this was done in hopes that the good magic would help preserve the harvested food through the dark half of the year until the next growing season could replenish the community's food stocks, end quote. So literally, like, their whole lives were built around 2 times of the year, the sun and the moon, the dark time of the year and the bright time of the year. It seems so simple, simpler times. Later in Ireland and Scotland, people developed the custom of using similarly carved vegetable lanterns to scare off the mythical character of Stingy Jack, who wandered the earth because the devil wouldn't let him into hell. Let me jump down this rabbit hole really quick, you guys, because I had never heard of Stingy Jack before. And what a rabbit hole it was. There's actually a lot about him. A lot of people still believe like he's a very real and powerful spirit. Jack Skellington from your beloved Nightmare Before Christmas is actually said to have been influenced from the legend of Stingy Jack, as they resemble each other in appearance and status. According to the myth of Stingy Jack, Jack invited Lucifer to have a bevy with him. And now Jack was a bit of a trickster and a bit of a penny pincher. I mean, I can't imagine how much a lager was back in year one, but still, he didn't want to pay for his own drink, so he convinced the devil to transform into a coin so that he could pay. But then Jack, that naughty Jack, he put the devil in his pocket next to his silver cross, and it prevented the devil to change back into his original form. Jack pleaded with him. He knew he was fucked. He'd let the devil go if he promised him that he wouldn't be bothered for a whole nother year, and that if he did die, Satan could not collect his soul. So the next year, devil comes back around, looking for his payment. And what does good old Jack do? He tricks his bitch ass to climb into a tree to get a piece of fruit. I mean, when I read that, I was like, this is the devil, right? He could transform into a serpent and a coin to pay for your I don't know, your expensively priced, probably worth a doll hair or horsehair beer. And I thought that was kind of funny. Fucking Lucifer. All knowing, right? That's what I've always been told. Jack carved a cross into the tree, and this prevented Lucifer to come down until he promised Jack another good decade, 10 years. And by the legends, it sounds like the devil was pretty pissed off and up in the tree for a while. And so he granted that wish, and he gave Jack another good 10 years. But the best part of this story is joke was on old Jackie boy, because he died really soon after he was granted that free decade. And obviously God didn't want that reckless little shit in heaven, and Lucifer, still pissed at the trickster, actually kept his promise, and he wouldn't let Jack's soul into hell. He's like, sorry mate, turned him away to the dark night with nothing but a coal to light his way. I like legends. Jack placed the coal into a carved out turnip and has been roaming the earth with it ever since. Bum, bum, bum. I don't have a scary button on here anymore. Drums. So I thought that was interesting. It was actually the Irish folks that started referring to his ghostly skeletal figure as Jack of the Lantern. And then it simply transitioned into jack-o'-lantern. In Ireland and Scotland, people started making their own versions of Jack's lanterns by carving scary faces into turnips or potatoes. In Ireland, you'd think they'd make vodka out of their potatoes like the Russians, but no, they're making scary faces with it. I hit my teeth, that hurt. But then they'd place these pumpkins and turnips in like their windowsills and near their doors, very similar to how we do today in the States. And it was to actually frighten away Stingy Jack and all other wandering evil spirits. Not the devil, though, because he does not have his shit together. So when you say his name, I don't think he's going to come. I'm not going to say that. It's actually not funny. Anyway. It's been a while since I've used this little guy. In England, large beets are used to carve faces or scary things into. They literally used everything. Immigrants from said countries brought the jack-o'-lantern tradition to the U.S., where they found that pumpkins, which I found interesting in all this research, that a pumpkin is a fruit. Yeah. I always thought it was a vegetable. But pumpkins are native to America, and they thought they'd make the perfect jack-o'-lanterns. And I'm glad, because I couldn't imagine carving a face into a beet. Supe, the professor, said, quote, once Christianity became established in the Celtic regions, young unmarried men would parade around on Halloween, going to houses and calling for gifts to the spirits, end quote. This was a time when all the hard work of the harvest was done, like I was saying, so they could indulge in some of the pranks to let off some fucking steam. You know, they even had to back then. I wonder what they were wearing. Pelts? Furs? They didn't wear underwear back then. Why do we do it now? You know? It's uncomfortable. Bunches your bits. Bunches your bits up. Yeah. So this was a time when the hard work of the harvest was done. Like I said, blowing some steam off, getting a little R&R. In Scotland, these groups of young men were actually called geezers. So if your grandpa was ever called a geezer, that's why. You what?
I just appear here.
You appeared here? Like the spirit?
Yeah.
Ooh. Do you want to tell me about your friend?
I just appear.
You listening, all you geezers? Elliot just appeared. But they were called geezers because they wore disguises, like I was saying in the beginning. And I actually found it really interesting because they called it souling, especially as the Catholic Church started supplanting pagan festivals with their own holidays, All Souls Day. The act of, air quotes, souling became popular, where poor children and adults would go door to door dressed as spirits, accepting food and exchange for good prayers. And though the Gaelic people started that tradition by wearing masks to ward off evil spirits, it was actually the Catholic Church's spin on things where they popularized souling. And it was the first in history that we saw something similar to trick-or-treating as we do now for All Hallows Eve. Are you ringing my bell?
I want to do the podcast with.
You want to do the podcast with me?
Mm-hmm.
I told him what you were going to be for Halloween.
Donald.
Say it louder.
Donald Duck.
Donald Duck. And why do you want to be Donald Duck?
Because
Because
I want to. Because I want to.
what's it from?
Mickey Mouse.
Oh, I thought you were telling me it was from DuckTales. Can you sing me the song? DuckTales, a woo. Hi, how are ya? This filter makes me look so red. If you're watching this live, I want you to know this is so weird for me. I got an actual camera to film. It doesn't work very well. It was another waste of money. Amazon always fucking fails me. Maybe I just don't read enough of the reviews. I don't know. I don't have the patience to online shop. I need to be in person. Tangent over. Where were we? It actually wasn't until centuries later Halloween costumes were brought to the U.S. by said immigrants from Ireland, Scotland, and other ancient homelands of the Celts. It was in 1894 that an article in the Christian Work described the holiday as, quote, when witches, evil spirits, and all mischief brewing sprites went forth on dark and mysterious midnight revels. It's my serious voice. Let me know what you think of it. But it's kind of funny because they didn't celebrate with putting their kids in costumes. They would celebrate by pranking each other. And during the 1930s, civic and religious authorities actually considered like banning Halloween in some states because it became so freaking dangerous. Pranks were getting so out of hand on Halloween that they basically made rules and regulations when it came to the holiday. So, what do rebellious teenage boys do? They just start pranking the night before. October 30th, it became commonly known as prank night, the night before Halloween, and it was widely popular on the East Coast. Like a Midwest and East Coast thing, it didn't really make it to the West Coast. But in the Northeast, October 30th was also known as Mischief Night, aka Goosey Night in some parts of New Jersey, which comes from like an old Scottish phrase. It's a pranking tradition. But it was even known as like Cabbage Night in some areas. I think because they were like stealing cabbages and like smashing them like pumpkins. So you want to know what rotting cabbage smells like? Stop breastfeeding. You literally shove cabbage leaves. It stinks. I don't recommend it. And if you don't know what I mean, Google how cabbage can stop your milk production. It's very interesting. But anyway, remember the term geezer I used? Yeah, it's because they were all pranking each other. That's why by the 1930s, after tricking escalated so far, they started organizing all these different things for kids to do. And that's actually the first time we are really starting to see haunted houses and becoming more popular. Young kids in Des Moines, Iowa hit the streets for what they called Beggar's Night instead of Prank Night. The event began around like 1938 as a way to prevent the kids from vandalizing and getting into trouble. Beggar's Night is really similar to regular trick-or-treating, but the kids are like required to tell a joke or give a poem or perform a trick. It was also in the 1930s where it became super common that they organize like carnivals, parades, and like costume contests to keep kids out of trouble. Since it was during the Depression, people pooled their resources and staged house-to-house parties. All this seemed to be a good substitute for boys to stay out of trouble for a time. Since the Scottish and Irish tradition of pranking was adapted in American society, it was in 1933 where prank night was taken to a whole nother level, and a lot parents were outraged when hundreds of teenage boys were flipping cars over, sawing off telephone poles, engaging in other acts of vandalism. Kids were throwing mannequins on railroad tracks, causing car accidents. It wasn't like your regular toilet papering and egging and potentially forking someone's lawn. If you don't know what I mean by forking someone's lawn, don't do it, kids. It kills their grass. But I was an asshole. But no, it was like serious pranks. Like people were getting hurt. And the amount of vandalism that was happening was a whole nother thing. It took a really dark turn in Detroit and other Michigan cities, such as Saginaw and Flint, where a huge fire was started, like I said. And it's actually known to this day in Michigan as the Devil's Night, which I thought was interesting. But since hearing our legend of Stingy Jack, I suppose Devil's Night seems a little more tame. Just kidding. She's gonna fucking come for me now. Knock on. I don't have wood down here. Oh, knock on this. We're good. But yeah, that's a brief history of the origination of All Hallows Eve, coming from the Celtic tradition of the Samhain festival and the Christianization of the holiday and how it's transitioned into what we know as today. We're no longer worried about phantoms walking the earth. Now, we're worried about paying $30 for a 20-ounce bag of fucking Reese's. But it's so interesting. I find history so interesting. You know, it's dark and ominous, and you know how the holiday of Halloween is supposed to be the scariest, right? So it should have the scariest lore. But it's interesting how it all comes into fruition, how it all came to be, because the story and the tales are not as scary as you would think. It's human nature for us to put a mystique to everything, you know, a sense of mystery and wonder. If you dive deep enough into the rabbit hole of why things are the way they are, you'll find that a lot of our fear and urban legends and lore derives from, I'll say it, paranoia, or some outsider bigger influence that's trying to incite fear or panic in the people. For example, I've always found it fascinating that, like, witches have always been affiliated with brooms, and that goes back to a pagan tradition of fertility where they would dance around with like a pitchfork or a broom, and to Christian society that was different, that was odd, something bewitching to fear, you know what I mean? And so lore is crazy, how it spins and how tales form. I mean, obviously, there are some real influences that fuck things up for everyone else, like the incident of Ronald Clark O'Brien, where in the 70s, he incited fear in a lot of homes because he poisoned his son with a fucking pixie stick. He put cyanide in it, but he also gave it out to 4 other children, including his daughter. And that kind of created the panic of the razor blades and apples and, oh, check your candies. Oh, there's needles in candy bars. There's poison in your... Yeah, so, I mean, of course, there's always a bad apple, pun intended. That has to ruin the fun for everybody. I'm not saying there's no truth at all to folklore or anything. There's always a seed of truth in any tale. But in the same token, it's so interesting how real tales get to be so exaggerated, and urban legends or even neighborhood urban legends are created. There were definitely some in my neighborhood too. Like, I guarantee, like, every one of us knew a neighbor that was, scary, that didn't talk to anybody, or there was a creepy house, you know, that was abandoned and everybody went to graffiti or paintball or whatever. It was haunted, and there was this whole neighborhood lore about how this was a haunted place, and in actuality it probably was never the case, but you know what I mean. It gets exaggerated, and tales are woven and spun and spread. Storytelling dated back to cavemen days, you know, petroglyphs. There's always been a need and want to spark the imagination. There's always been a need for storytelling. It is an art form. There's always been a devilish dance between the lightness and the darkness. An inspiration for so many tales to tell throughout history. The battle between good and evil. There's something fun about being scared. People want to imagine, people want to believe that there's something beyond this life. And as you guys know, I may not be a religious person, but I 100% believe there's something beyond this realm that we can't see, that, we'll probably never fully understand. And maybe that's a good thing, fam. It keeps us questioning the abnormalities throughout this life. There's something in our gut, an intuition, that lets us know the veil is thinning during this time of year. And if you open your eyes and look around, you never know what you may begin to notice. I hope you guys enjoyed jumping on this Hot Mess Express with me. We have arrived at our final destination, And if you enjoyed this episode, let me know. Email into hardtalkswithbnh@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at hardtalkswithbnh and Twitter at hardtalkswithb1. I love this kind of stuff, guys. I love jumping into rabbit holes of our history and why things are the way they are. So if you're into that kind of stuff, let me know. It's kind of funny because Sarah's coming back the first week of November to record, and in solo casting, I've had to make prompters for myself. Otherwise, you guys, obviously, I tangent a lot. I get off track really easily. But she used to give me a hard time because I used to write such lengthy and detailed prompters, such as this episode's. But, I really love it. I love history. I think it's important to talk about this kind of stuff and to understand why things are the way they are now and how they came to be. History repeats itself. Knowledge is power. But anyway, guys, I hope you stay scary out there. I hope you have a good rest of your week. Until next time, theme song. I love you so much. Be safe, stay wise, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Until next time, bye.
Glad you bye. Hard talk about them.
Yay!